Hey, Tom Van Pope here. I hope you've been well. In this video we'll go over some of the basics of beach driving. We spent the Saturday playing around in my, at the time, unmodified Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 120 series. And I thought, why not break it down and share with you some tips and tricks. So this video is part vlog, part my take on how to do beach driving in 10 steps aimed at beginners. I will talk about some of the basics and I'll give you the information you need to get out there to enjoy the magic of driving on the sand in your four-wheel drive right next to the ocean. I'll cover gear, general advice, tire pressure for sand driving, recovery and a bit about driving technique. There's some rambling and driving before we arrive at the beach entrance, so if you want to skip straight to the beach or a specific topic, you can use the timestamps below. Let's dive in. How to do beach driving, a beginner's guide. Let's go! Before I get started, be sure to check out the Drive Your Dreams Tom Van Pope t-shirt and sticker. This is my first official Tom Van Pope merchandise, proudly featuring the 120 series Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. It's a very comfortable soft style t-shirt that comes in 5 different colors. The sticker is printed on high quality durable vinyl and looks great on a laptop or cargo case. If you're looking to buy this cool and unique design, support the channel, head over to the Tom Van Pope shop and order your t-shirt and sticker on vanpope.com. Today we'll be exploring a little bit of the beach area north of Figueira da Foz, which is a beach town here in Portugal in the Coimbra region. And we're starting off in the garage here, the place where we're staying. I haven't explored that area yet, so I look forward to checking it out. It has a lot of forest along the beach, and it's not a very crowded beach area because the stretch between the two towns is pretty long. The only thing I didn't bring at the moment is a shovel. So we're gonna pick up a shovel at a hardware store. We have the air compressor so we can air down and air back up again. So should be a fun day of adventuring. So let's come along and enjoy the ride. I recorded this video before installing upgrades, so apart from the nudge bar and driving lights, as you can see, my truck is completely unmodified and I'm even running normal road tires. In principle, if your car has four-wheel drive, you too should be good to go. Now, mind you, there's a difference between four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, but I'm not gonna get into that topic in this video. Since I mentioned that shovel, let's talk about gear. I recommend that you bring at least these 4 items, starting off with recovery boards. There are different suppliers out there. I personally carry a set of blue Max Tracks, but what I was missing was a shovel used to remove sand around the tires in case you get stuck so deep that you can't get the recovery boards wedged in. I opted for this smaller one, but you may want a larger one depending on your preference and storage or mounting space available. So that's item number 2, a good shovel, and we'll get to the other 2 items later on in the video. We're going to Figueira da Foz. Actually, we're going to a beach slightly north of it, Praia da Costinha. Okay, step 1 is location scouting. Which beach are you going to explore? Are you allowed to drive there? How is the access? This really depends on where you are in the world, so do your research. It's really a great day.
Yeah.
No clouds, 22 degrees.
There are a lot of Leitão restaurants here. Rui dos Leitões.
I usually try to find unique, nice and interesting looking beaches on Google Maps by using satellite view. This one?
Yeah.
Figueira. We're on the toll road. It's the quickest way. Maybe on the way back we're taking the B road. So we're not really in a hurry, but then again we want to make sure that there's no high tide. €4.50 for this little stretch.
The €4.50 wasn't enough.
You have got to be kidding me. More toll. We just want to get to the beach. Come on. They're simple highways and they're all toll roads. And they're not cheap either.
No. But on the contrary, they're very expensive.
Keep left at the fork.
Look at those prices. Basically $1.50 for a liter of gasoline.
500 meters at the roundabout. Take the first exit onto N109.
Retire cartão. Obrigada e boa viagem.
Boa viagem, igualmente. So if you're not paying any tolls, basically this is what you can expect. Alright, the old road to Figueira.
Yeah.
We're getting closer to the beach entrance. Time to mount the action cam. In this case, I'm using the Insta360 1R with the 360 degrees camera module. Nice to encounter another four-wheeler. In this case, a little first generation two-door Suzuki Vitara. Okay, now that we're at the beach entrance, it's time for step 2, walking the sand. To me, this step isn't optional, especially when I'm new to a location. I like to know what I'm in for when I cross the dunes and enter the beach. It allows you to see the type of sediments you can expect. There are gravel beaches with cobbles and pebbles, and sand beaches like this one with different types of sand. Walking the beach access tracks also allows you to remove any obstacles in your way. Look up the schedule for low and high tides. It's always best to drive on a falling tide rather than a rising one. Now, since we got to Portugal, we didn't encounter any other Land Cruisers, so I couldn't believe my eyes when we saw two 120 series, just like mine, speeding across the sand. A black 5-door and a silver short wheelbase 3-door. What a coincidence, they're from Spain, I think. Yeah. What a coincidence. Really cool to see their mods. It seems they were both running AFN front bumpers and larger tires. Yeah, I think he's got it. He's got it. Ah, this is so cool. As you can hear, I'm a huge fan of the Land Cruiser Prado, and it was super cool to see these two great examples of Iberian, Spanish/Portuguese off-road culture. Okay, next up, step 3, tire pressure. It's super important to let air out of your tires before entering the beach. I'm gonna first air down the tires. Got the compressor, can be used for airing down as well, so let's take it from there. Airing down is really easy with these deflators that come with a handy pressure gauge. I usually bring them, but today I use my compressor attachment, which I can set to deflate. Alright, so here we have my mini compressor. Kind of small. For deflating, we don't need any power, so it's a matter of twisting it in, I think pushing. Right. It's at 40 psi. So I'm gonna go down to 20 or 18. It takes some practice to get the tire pressure for your truck, tires and beach just right.
What sort of compressor do you have?
It's a Swedish Buell Thema. It's a relatively cheap compressor, but goes up to 150 psi, so might not be the quickest, but it gets the job done. Full pressure forces the tires to sink into the sand, and you won't make it very far. But lower tire pressure will increase the surface area of the rubber that's in contact with the ground. Your tire's contact area will get a bit wider and a lot longer. In fact, in most cases, from full pressure down to 16 psi will practically double your surface area. Having a larger tire surface area means that the weight of your truck is spread better, allowing your tires to float on top of the sand. So, what is the right tire pressure? Well, for this beach, I'm starting at 20 psi. But in general, for beach driving, I recommend somewhere between 15 to 18 psi. And for dunes, 12 to 15. It really depends on the weight of your vehicle. The heavier it is, the more air you should keep in. And lighter vehicles, like a Jimny, can easily go down to 12 psi. Alright, I'm ready. This car, bone stock, except for the vanity bull bar. Everyone's gonna get stuck, and I'm also probably gonna get stuck, so I have to be mentally prepared for that. Have the shovel, recovery boards, the tide is good. I'm gonna mount this thing on the top of the truck. Step 4, the right speed. When crossing over dunes, you're looking to have just the right speed to make it up and over gently. Going too slow and you won't make it, but you don't want to go too fast either, because you'll risk going airborne and jumping, which isn't going to be nice to your suspension, and it may cause some serious damage. In this case, the beach access track through the dunes is fairly rounded off on top, and with my lower tire pressure, it actually doesn't require much speed at all to make it up and over. The feeling of crossing the dunes and entering the beach is incredible. It's thrilling, it gives an incredible sense of freedom and power. Hard-packed beach sand makes driving a breeze, but loose sand is quite tricky. Wet sand, closer to the edge, is something that I usually try to avoid, since there's a risk it's highly saturated, appearing solid, but not able to support weight, just like quicksand. This brings us to step 5, the rolling stop. There's actually a way you can test to see if your tires are deflated correctly. When on the beach, take your foot off the accelerator and you should be able to roll for a couple of meters. If your vehicle almost immediately bogs down and stops, then your tires are digging in and not floating like they should be. Useful to assess your tire pressure, but this driving technique is also useful when the sand is extra soft, because you don't want to come to an abrupt stop and dig yourself in. If you want to stop, it's not an emergency and you have the time and space for it. My tip is to let your foot off the gas. Don't touch the brakes and simply come to a rolling gentle stop. For super soft sand, I sometimes even put the truck in neutral and let it roll to a stop. You won't sink in too much and it'll be much easier to continue driving again. Even the softest of shores can be driven by most four-wheel drive vehicles. Your vehicle should not be struggling, and if it is, go down a bit more in tire pressure and you'll notice the difference. But keep in mind, at these low pressures, I recommend to keep your driving speed low, somewhere under 40 kilometers per hour. And then some tips on cornering. Make sure you only apply smooth input into the steering wheel. Avoid sharp cornering. because if you turn the wheels too sharply, the low tire pressure can cause the bead of the tire to roll off the rim, which is a pain to put back on, or when done at high speeds can even cause a rollover. Be on the lookout for humps in the sand and cross them gently. Crossing other tracks can be misleading and surprisingly tough on suspension. Careful, boom boom.
Woo! I wasn't expecting it.
Another big bump. Stay calm, focused, and beach driving will give you an experience of exceptional freedom. Step number 6. High revs and momentum. In nearly all off-road situations, torque is more important than horsepower, especially when rock crawling, but not on sand. In fact, wheel speed gives you the highest chance of maintaining forward momentum, and this is where lots of horsepower, high revs really makes the difference. My truck is equipped with the 1GR FE engine, a 4-liter V6 delivering 249 horsepower. It's great for the beach. Gasoline engines typically perform best, but modern diesels are fine too. In reality, only the older diesel engines may struggle a bit on the sand. Another quick tip: when you're driving into the sun, wear sunglasses. It's important to be very aware of what's ahead of you. It goes without saying that you should be very mindful of other people. And basically, just use common sense when driving. Don't do things like driving between a fisherman and the surf. Common courtesy rules. Slow down when you encounter oncoming vehicles or other people enjoying the beach. And since we're on this topic of beach driving etiquette, do not drive over vegetated dunes. Use only the access tracks that are in place. Because apart from the fact that these frontal dunes are actually held together by grass, they are also often nesting places for animals. Okay, point 7, mind the salt. I don't recommend driving through the salty water, as tempting and fun as it may look. The salt in the water will cause corrosion and the rust will damage your components. No one wants a rusty car. I recommend not to drive closer than 4 meters from the water, but sometimes it's inevitable. It's common to encounter tidal runout creeks that you will have to cross. These may seem shallow and easy, but they can be deceptively difficult. Often the water in them can be moving very quickly, and they can hide deep holes. Just like in step 2, I recommend to walk them first and simply take your time. And whether you drove through the water or not, it's always good practice to wash your car, especially your underbody, after a day at the beach. Point 8. Take a long approach when exiting the beach. Exits tend to have soft sand, and the approach angle tends to be a lot steeper than the entry angle onto the beach because, well, the beach often lays lower than the hinterland. So don't underestimate the momentum and speed you'll need to make it up. Which brings us to point 9. Know when to back down. In this case, I didn't have enough speed to make it up, and I was starting to lose forward motion. Instead of spinning my tires and digging myself in, I carefully backed out until I had enough distance to try again. Most dunes should be driven straight up and straight down. If you take them at an angle, you risk rolling over. Especially when backing down, never try to turn around, or you're practically guaranteed to tumble. A faint dune like this one can be approached at an angle, but you'll want to straighten out when going over. Alright, we're here. The final step. Number 10. airing back up. When you're done and you want to go back on hard surface, it's important to put the air back into your tires.
It's now at 18 psi.
Air them up to full pressure. That way your truck will handle on the road like it should, which is better for safety and fuel economy.
How much are you putting in?
I'm putting them to 35. Normally when it's cold it should be around 30 on this side of the tire. Because it's warm, the tires are warm. Putting in a little bit more. And tomorrow I'll do an extra check. Let's do the rest.
Okay, closing off with some more recommended gear. Radios are super useful to talk to a friend or fellow four-wheel driver. You may opt for an onboard two-way radio, such as a CB, UHF or long-range HF radio. I plan to get one in the future, but for now I carry the Midland G7 Pros, which have 85 channels and operate at 10 kilometers distance. You may want to bring some more recovery gear, including recovery straps and shackles to help you or a fellow four-wheeler get unstuck. And lastly and importantly, something I should have carried and attached myself, a dune/sand flag. One that sticks out high, allowing others to see you to prevent accidents. In this case, my partner, equipped with a radio, was a spotter, making sure it was safe to enter and exit the beach. But it would have been even better to also use a sand flag.
How long does it take on average?
To inflate takes about this one 4 or 5 minutes.
And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you feel inspired and confident to go out and explore the world. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.